Ever heard a sound like this? Recordings like this have been captured by people all over the world, but they all share one unsettling mystery. What exactly were people hearing in the sky? Today, we're going to find out.
Unseen Realms.
Welcome everyone to Unseen Realms, the show where we investigate paranormal mysteries and unexplained phenomena. I'm Cosmo Kramer, and today you're watching Episode 3. In our first 2 episodes, we explored everything from mysterious objects disappearing into strange portals in the sky to the bizarre legend of the Fresno Nightcrawler. If you haven't seen those investigations yet, I highly recommend checking them out. But today, we're tackling one of the most talked about mysteries of the last decade, the phenomenon known as the Sky Trumpets, also called the Apocalypse Trumpets. Strange sounds that seem to echo from somewhere high above us. Some people compare them to the roar of a gigantic rusted machine. Others say they sound like enormous trumpets. But what are they really? Before we begin our investigation, let me introduce today's panel. Harold Lunares, our honored professor of ufology. A man who can spot patterns where most people see only coincidence. If there's a mystery hiding somewhere, Harold won't stop until he uncovers it.
Every mystery deserves to be heard before it's dismissed as fiction.
Abraham Newman, associate professor of applied mathematics and statistics. A skeptic through and through. If a flying saucer suddenly appeared above our studio today, Newman would demand the spectroscopic data before he'd even consider being impressed.
If a claim can't be tested, it's still just a good story.
Jerry Seinfeld, a man who's convinced that even the creepiest mystery becomes a little less frightening if you can laugh about it.
Everything seems less scary once you're laughing.
And finally, Elaine Marie Benes, today's judge. While everyone else debates, theorizes, and cracks jokes, Elaine will decide whose arguments are actually convincing.
Believe it or don't, that's your choice. But today, only the strongest arguments will stand.
Well then, before we start building theories, let's examine the most important evidence we have. The eyewitness recordings. Let's see what people around the world actually captured.
I have no idea, like, it's coming straight out of the sky. What is that? This for you YouTube people, you hear that?
Well, what do you think, everyone?
So far, all I see is a collection of strange sounds. I haven't seen a single piece of evidence proving those sounds actually came from the sky.
Not so fast, Abraham. Look closely. In every single video, people immediately point their cameras upward. They're not searching for the source. It's almost as if they already know where it is.
Or they simply assume it's overhead. When people hear a low-frequency sound, it's often surprisingly difficult to tell where it's coming from.
I once spent 30 minutes looking for my phone. Turned out it was in my pocket the whole time.
So, we have two competing viewpoints. One says the sound really is coming from above. The other says our ears can easily fool us. Let's keep investigating.
I have to admit, if I heard that sound without knowing what caused it, my first thought would be that somewhere above us, an enormous machine was at work. And that's exactly how one of the strangest theories was born.
That's right. According to this theory, the Earth is enclosed beneath a gigantic dome, and sounds like these are produced whenever that structure is being repaired or maintained. Supporters believe we're not hearing a natural phenomenon at all, but the operation of an enormous artificial structure.
Harold, if someone hears a squeaky door tomorrow, are we going to declare that the entire universe is getting maintenance?
I'm not claiming the theory is true. I'm simply explaining how its supporters account for why the sound appears to come from the sky.
If there's really construction going on up there, I just hope the workers remember to clean up after themselves.
It's certainly one of the more imaginative explanations. But at this point, there's no evidence supporting it.
Unseen realms.
While preparing this episode, I remembered something else. Some of you may have missed our previous investigation, so here's a quick recap. In 1997, hydrophones operated by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recorded a mysterious sound deep in the South Pacific. It later became known as the Bloop. To this day, no one knows for certain what produced it. But you know what caught my attention while working on today's episode? Parts of that underwater recording sound remarkably similar to the mysterious Sky Trumpets people have reported hearing in the sky. Of course, I'm not saying these recordings are identical. One was captured by hydrophones deep beneath the ocean. The other was recorded by eyewitnesses using ordinary cameras. Even so, they share some remarkably similar characteristics. The same long, low rumble, the same metallic quality, and the same feeling that whatever produced these sounds must be absolutely enormous. Coincidence? Or could these two mysteries actually be connected?
Personally, I wouldn't rule it out. Some researchers have suggested that both sounds could share the same origin. One is heard directly underwater, while the other may be what remains after those vibrations travel through the Earth's crust and eventually reach the surface. If that's really what's happening, it wouldn't be surprising for the sound to change along the way.
Harold, are you seriously suggesting that a sound recorded by hydrophones in the middle of the ocean could be connected to sounds people hear in the atmosphere? That's a pretty big leap.
Why? We still don't know what caused either phenomenon. Until we do, I don't think we should dismiss the possibility that they're connected.
But if we assume they really are connected, then what could possibly be producing both sounds?
That's where one of the oldest and most extraordinary theories comes in. Most people have heard of the Leviathan, the colossal sea creature described in ancient texts. According to this theory, Somewhere beneath the Earth's surface, or deep within the oceans, there could exist a creature of unimaginable size, so enormous that its voice could travel for thousands of miles. As those vibrations pass through layers of water and solid rock, they may acquire the same metallic quality we hear in the Sky Trumpets.
So let me get this straight. We've gone from malfunctioning machinery to a sea monster the size of a continent.
The sheer size of such a creature could explain why these sounds are so incredibly powerful. An ordinary animal simply couldn't generate vibrations on that scale.
Or maybe it's time to admit that we simply don't understand either phenomenon yet. Not knowing the answer isn't evidence that monsters exist.
Imagine if it really is the Leviathan. And all this time, it wasn't trying to destroy humanity. It was just complaining to the neighbors upstairs about all that noisy dome construction.
This theory certainly attempts to connect two enduring mysteries, but for now, it's based entirely on the similarity between two recordings. And similarity alone isn't enough to conclude they share the same origin.
While researching this episode, I noticed something else that caught my attention. In several of these recordings, the mysterious sounds seemed to be followed by a sudden change in the weather. One video from Finland stood out in particular. Let's take a look. Notice what happens. Almost immediately after the mysterious sound appears, dark storm clouds begin rolling in. Within just a few minutes, the weather changes dramatically. Of course, this could simply be a coincidence, but sometimes, coincidences like these become the starting point for new theories.
And that's exactly how another popular theory emerged. Some researchers believe these sounds could be connected to the HAARP research facility. According to this theory, powerful experiments involving the ionosphere generate electromagnetic disturbances. Under certain conditions, those disturbances could produce unusual sounds like these.
Mistä vitusta toi tulee?
Let me make sure I understand. You're talking about a facility that officially conducts research on the upper atmosphere. How did we go from atmospheric research to weather control?
Because theories like this have been circulating for years. Supporters believe the facility is capable of far more than its official mission suggests. That's why HAARP is so often linked to unusual atmospheric phenomena. The Sky Trumpets are simply one more example.
Wow.
Or perhaps they're just another example of people connecting every unexplained mystery to the first conspiracy theory they found online.
Even so, the apparent connection between these sounds and sudden changes in the weather is certainly intriguing.
Intriguing? Yes. Convincing? Not even close. The weather changes every single day. If you look for coincidences long enough, you'll eventually find them.
What if HAARP really is behind all this? I can just picture some operators sitting at a control panel. Okay, rain activated, lightning activated, now let's add some creepy sound effects.
Once again, we run into the same problem. We have interesting coincidences, we have unusual observations, but we still don't have evidence that directly connects these sounds to HAARP.
Unseen realms.
And finally, perhaps the most extraordinary theory we've explored today. Some researchers believe the source of these sounds isn't in the sky at all, but deep beneath the Earth's surface. But if that's really the case, what could possibly produce such a powerful sound?
There are several different versions of this theory, but the best known one involves the existence of an underground civilization. According to this idea, vast cities could exist beneath the Earth's surface, so immense that their true scale is almost impossible to imagine.
Underground cities, filled with gigantic machinery. Sounds more like the plot of a science fiction novel.
Perhaps, but legends like these can be found in cultures all around the world. Some called it the Kingdom of Agartha, others spoke of underground peoples, and some believed an ancient civilization still exists beneath our feet. If such a world really exists, it would have its own infrastructure, its own energy sources, its own transportation systems, and enormous machines, whose operation we occasionally hear from the surface.
Or we're simply hearing ordinary sounds from the world around us, and the human imagination fills in the rest.
Then let me ask you this. Why do so many people describe the sound in almost exactly the same way? Why do witnesses from different countries compare it to a gigantic metal machine?
Because the human brain is wired to recognize familiar patterns. When people hear an unfamiliar sound, one thinks of an engine, another imagines a factory, someone else hears giant trumpets. That's perfectly natural.
If there really is an underground civilization, I just hope their roads are better than ours. Otherwise, all this noise is probably just road construction.
It's interesting that every theory we've discussed today attempts to explain the very same phenomenon in a completely different way. A giant dome, the Leviathan, HAARP, an underground civilization. Yet none of them has been supported by convincing evidence.
Today, we tried to get a little closer to solving one of the greatest mysteries of our time, but the deeper we explored, the more questions we uncovered. And perhaps, that's the defining characteristic of every real mystery. It doesn't hand us the answers, it challenges us to keep searching for them. That's all for today, my friends. I'll see you in the next episode.
Mirrors on the floor reflect my face in cracks. Shattered glimpses of a time that vanished in the black. The moonlight crawling through these blinds, but it won't stay. Whisper voices in the dark, they lead me astray. Fractured memories screaming loud inside my mind. Pieces of the past that time won't ever let me find. A pain that echoes through the halls where shadows play. Every shot of yesterday cuts me in its way.